First of all, can you define what is intelligence?
Intelligence, I can absolutely define for you. That's been part of my bedrock for like a decade plus. And I can put it down to two things in plain English. Intelligence is mental quickness, how fast we process, and mental flexibility, how open we are, how spontaneous we are in making connections between data, things, you name it, making those connections and making them quickly.
Most of us never learned how to train our brains, which is why most of us needlessly settle, struggle, and worse, suffer. My name is Chris Dorris, and I want to make brain training mainstream. This is my series, Tough Talks, Conversations on Mental Toughness. I'm interviewing badasses from all walks of life on what mental toughness means to them and their unique approaches to strengthening their minds. Hey everybody, welcome back to Tough Talks, Conversations on Mental Toughness, and I'm your host, Chris Dorris. And before I introduce our incredible guest today, our one housekeeping item, as usual, is if you're not getting the daily dose mental toughness tips in 30 seconds or less delivered to your email inbox every single morning of the year at around 6 a.m., wherever you happen to be on the planet Earth. And if you're not getting notifications of my blog posts, which come out every Tuesday, and if you're not getting notifications of these new Tough Talks podcast episodes that come out every other Thursday, then we can fix all of that in one fell swoop by going to christopherdoris.com/lists, L-I-S-T-S. So I'll get you on both lists, Daily Dose, and then the blog and Tough Talks is the other one. So just put your name, email, click, send, problem solved. christopherdoris.com/lists. I got a real smart cookie as a guest today. Easily one of the smartest people I've ever met in my life. And one of the coolest. That's pretty great. This is what I'm telling people about him as I describe Dr. Alan D. Thompson. That he's easily one of the smartest people I've ever met in my life, and simultaneously one of the coolest. And that is a very rare combination, at least in my experience, it has been. A lot of times the super smart, like weird smart people are really not that fun to hang with. I don't know what it's been like in your world, but this guy's awesome. I consider him a good friend now. We met because he has written a biography on one of my greatest coaches in life, Steve Hardison. And he interviewed me for that book, and we hit it off then, and just stayed in touch, and I got to learn a lot more about him. And I don't even think of him as an author. He is an author. I got a great story. I'm not going to spoil it. We're going to open with it. A great story about one of his best-selling books. But he's an expert in a lot of things, and one of them is artificial intelligence. And I really wanted to have a conversation. I've been having conversations with him, and I wanted to have one that I can share with you guys on this area of expertise of his, because it's literally mind-blowing. The implications of artificial intelligence are, I think, incomprehensible at the moment. Like, we can't predict the disruptiveness that is on the horizon, the immediate horizon, according to him. So, let me read you his bio, because it's unbelievable, okay? Dr. Alan D. Thompson is a world expert in the fields of artificial intelligence, high performance, and personal development. He consults to families with special needs children, including Bolshoi ballerinas, chess masters, abstract artists, and those with a mental age up to twice their chronological age. As chairman for Mensa International's Gifted Families Committee, Alan served 2 consecutive terms, sharing best practice among 54 countries. His work was recently cited in the Department of Education's High Potential Policy, and he continues to consult to world leaders and facilitators in talent development. He is a co-founder of the Australia-Asia Positive Psychology Institute. There's more. Alan's best-selling parenting book, Bright, was made available to families at Elon Musk's gifted school. In 2021, a copy of the book was sent. Not gonna tell you. Nope, that's the part I want you to wait for. I'm gonna open with it, so you don't have to wait long. You will not guess. You will not guess where a copy of this book was sent. Alan advises international media in the fields of exceptional ability and personal development, consulting to the award-winning series Decoding Genius for GE, Making Child Prodigies for ABC with the Australian Prime Minister, 60 Minutes for Network 10/CBS, and Child Genius for Warner Brothers. Prior to his career as a consultant, Alan worked with many high-performing young celebrities, including Disney princess Lea Salonga from Aladdin and Mulan, the Australian Billy Elliot, Sydney Olympics star Nikki Webster, and the cast of Sir Andrew Lloyd Webber's Cats in Asia. Alan completed his Bachelor of Science in Computer Science, Artificial Intelligence, and Psychology at Edith Cowan University in 2004, studied gifted education at Flinders University 2017, became a fellow of the Institute of Coaching affiliated with Harvard Medical School 2017, and received his doctorate from Emerson in 2021. Alan's dissertation was adapted into a book featuring Dr. Rupert Sheldrake entitled Connected, Intuition and Resonance in Smart People. And then this fun casual bio, much briefer, is I've woken up at dawn on the Great Wall, chased helicopters in a jet ski, stayed at 7-star hotels with gold cutlery, spoken from the General Assembly podium at the UN headquarters in New York, swam with dolphins, laid on the grass at Parliament House, rang the swan bells in Perth, crawled through the ceiling and the tunnels of the Sydney Opera House, trained with firearms, undergone hypnosis, squatted twice my own body weight, climbed 70-meter plus trees and 1 kilometer plus mountains, been to the top of some of the world's tallest buildings, snorkeled off Coral Bay, rounded sheep, sent an email in 1995, played a tabletop game using my mind and a sensor strapped to my head, sat on the design panel for a famous building, collected postnominals longer than my full name, detonated explosive, written a computer virus, thrown furniture out of top floor hotel windows, and laughed a lot. All right, whew. And the guy's like 12 years old. All right, where are you at, buddy? Let's go find Dr. Alan D. Thompson. There he is, right over there. There he is, that guy, right over there. Dr. Alan D. Thompson. What's up, buddy?
Hey, yo, man.
How am I going? I love that. That's an Aussie question or phrasing, right? Right?
There's different interpretations. Yeah.
New Zealand. Like, where else do people say, how you going, as opposed to how you doing? I love it. I think it's fun. How are you going? I'll tell you how I'm going.
It's a culture thing.
It's cool, though.
How are you going, Crisco?
You're the only person in the world that calls me that. This is the best damn day of my life.
Awesome.
So I appreciate you asking that, because when you ask me that, it is a reminder to make that declaration. Now, I am part of the reason, a huge part of the reason that this is the best damn day of my life is because I get to hang with you. And I get to have this incredible conversation that I've been looking forward to. We actually have rescheduled this at least once, most recently because artificial intelligence interfered with my technology.
Zoom imploded.
Zoom. So I wanted to start with a question. This is for everyone. This is for everyone. This question, every person that's listening to or watching this. This is for you. It's just for you, Alan, as well as everybody watching or listening. It's not even a question. Raise your hand if you have a copy of one of the books that you've written on the moon. I see a hand. I see one hand going up slowly over there. So we have someone. What the hell is that all about, man?
That's kind of cool, hey?
I think it's pretty damn cool. Yeah. Yeah.
I thought that book couldn't get much
that qualifies fully as pretty fucking cool.
It was already going pretty well. We had copies of that book I sent to the principal of Elon Musk's school, a guy by the name of Joshua Dahn in California. And so it got distributed to the parents and the children there. And I thought, that's pretty cool. I mean, that's, in my mind, the best educational environment in the world. They've got like a startup lab for bright young minds. And I thought just to get it into the hands there and get it into the awareness, particularly of the parents, would be amazing. And it went a little bit further.
What's the title of that, the one that's on the moon?
That one's Bright. It's my yellow book.
Bright. Yeah, you have a copy of that right there?
Yeah, seeing superstars, listening to their worlds, and moving out of the way. And it's kind of
seeing superstars, listening to their worlds, and moving out the way. Now, why is it on the moon?
I thought it'd be a good place to put it.
Okay, that makes sense.
It got sent up with the Peregrine lunar lander. Well, it got sent up with a Vulcan rocket, and then the Peregrine lunar lander comes off the rocket, of course, and sits in a crater on the moon. They reckon forever. And one of the items on the Peregrine lander is a little SD card, 256 gig with a lot of stuff on there, a lot of books, a lot of scientific data. Yeah, it's a fascinating project. DHL was involved. There's all sorts of stuff that's gone up in there.
That's very cool. That's really, really cool. That's a fun thing to add to your resume. So let's get into it. Before I ask you to define, for those of us who don't even know, because I believe there are some of us who still don't really know exactly what the hell is artificial intelligence, just have heard of it. First of all, can you define what is intelligence?
Intelligence, I can absolutely define for you. That's been part of my bedrock for like a decade plus. And I can put it down to two things in plain English. Intelligence is mental quickness, how fast we process, and mental flexibility, how open we are, how spontaneous we are in making connections between data, things, you name it, making those connections and making them quickly.
What do you think is the most effective method that exists to measure human intelligence right now?
I think the IQ tests that are out there are fine. We've got IQ tests that have been researched, uncovered since the very early 1900s when Alfred Binet pulled out his research over there in France, teamed up with the guys at Stanford and came out with the Stanford Binet, which we still use to this day. It's got everything. It's got coverage from, verbal to shake my hand, like kinesthetic tests, to maths, to pattern recognition. And that's a fairly good indicator of intelligence. I know some people would say, well, that's not everything, and they'd be right. But at least we've got normed across thousands, sometimes millions of people, normed comparisons of data. So we can say, right, this 48-year-old guy is, compared to this 48-year-old guy, is this IQ and this ranking. Same for 2-year-old, down towards toddlers, infants. It's normed across the age population.
All right. Okay. So fundamentally, it is mental quickness and, did you say flexibility?
Mental flexibility, yeah.
Now, if you would, because this is our topic du jour, it is your area of expertise. Now, how do you define, or what is the coolest definition This could be two totally different things. And if they are, I want to hear them both. Artificial intelligence. And the third piece of that question is the word artificial, in your opinion, accurate in the name?
Awesome questions. Let's go with the coolest part first. Because I did some prep on this for an ABC interview and I never got to use it. I asked an artificial intelligence from June 2021, a model called GPT-J by a lab called Elutha AI. The very simple question: what is artificial intelligence? And the answer I got is this: artificial intelligence is the ability of a machine or computer to learn and behave like a human. Now, the reason that's cool, Chris, is that sentence has never existed before. If you Google that sentence in quotes, if you put it inside quote marks, there'll be no results for that sentence. So the AI, that language model, has pulled out a phrase, matched, made connections, and come up with something that's never been here on Earth before.
Wait a minute. If you well, there has to be a result if you Google it, because wouldn't it be the result you got, or whoever got it first, right? I mean, where does artificial intelligence come from? Well, no, I'm not even giving you a chance to answer the other two questions.
I actually like that definition. My definition of artificial intelligence and my aim for intelligence, let's just call intelligence this general thing that we've known about, that we've been able to measure since the 1900s. My aim for that is to integrate machine intelligence with our human intelligence. So we've essentially enhanced or augmented our own intelligence. So you're right, the word artificial, like a lot of buzzwords and words that get chosen and then used and reused and overused, is probably not great. And we can talk about why that's not great, but it's the term we've got for now.
Do you have it, if it was up to you to rename this phenomenon, would you call it something else?
Well, I wonder if we could use augmented intelligence, and then a big community of colleagues at whitemirror.live, as in the opposite of Black Mirror, have asked to call it, or proposed to call it, awakened intelligence.
Wow. Why?
As in, the AI that we've just spoken about, the GPT-J model, some of the models that we could discuss, contain humanity, right? This is not some alien life form that's come down and been gifted to us. It's not something that is magic, although there is an element of that. It contains the sum of all knowledge. It contains humanity's intelligence. It's just adding it all together, connecting all the dots, and allowing us to be awakened, or to augment our own intelligence once we wire it into our own brains. So I like both of those names: augmented intelligence and awakened intelligence.
Right before, was there a third question that we didn't get to in that?
I hope I covered them.
I think we got it. I was just watching a video from Elon Musk, and I believe it was recent. I think it was recent. And he was talking about, he said, well, here's some of the shit he said. Mark my words, AI is far more dangerous than nukes. In the same article where that video was embedded, I'm a Stephen Hawking fan. And there was a quote in there, if it's accurate, that says, unless we learn how to prepare for and avoid the potential risks, AI could be the worst event in the history of our civilization. Stephen Hawking. How do you hear those things? You're an AI expert. You geek out on it, right? Yeah? Is that accurate? Like, geek out hard? Yeah.
It's pretty exciting to be alive in 2021 and just to have access to this. Like, how lucky is it for you and I to be born and to be living coming up through the 2020s when all of this stuff is happening?
That's a perspective. And I like it. And here are some quotes that are pretty freaking dark.
Right.
From people whose minds I really admire.
Sure. Yeah.
What do you do with all that? What are you doing with it?
You're right. You're right. I love Hawking as well. And Musk, I mean, there is no other human on Earth that has conquered, is it 10 fields or 12 fields now? Everything
Seriously?
from finance with PayPal
Yeah.
or with X.com, it started as. He's done underground tunnels. He's done electric cars. He's done satellite internet way better than the original version. I could keep going, but there's like, he would be the guy to admire and the guy to follow. He's also not just talk. Like, he just goes out and does it. And if one of his engineers is not up to it, he does their job for him.
Yeah, I listened to his biography and it was absolutely fascinating. He's so not normal in a way that I totally admire. And I'll tell you how. The way that I admire, at least one of the ways, is that he seemed, for some reason, I don't know what the reason is, he is immune to a lot of the learned limiting beliefs that most of us have and are taking up residence in our minds that hold us back from going for shit. Like, he just doesn't have it, it seems. Like, I don't know if he just has a different brain function, or chemistry, or if he's done the work or I don't know what it is about that guy, but he is an anomaly. Right. And I respect him for that tremendously. And every project that he's been involved in that I'm aware of has been to solve major human problems. Right. Like, he it seems like he's geeked out on what are the biggest problems. Well, let's go solve it. And yet I'm hearing him say this. Why? What? So now I'm like, uh-oh. So talk to me, coach me through this. Talk me off the ledge, babe. I'm scared.
There's always going to be two perspectives or more. There's always going to be two sides to the coin. That there's an optimism and there's a pessimism for everything. There's a positive and a negative viewpoint to everything. Okay. And I wouldn't discount either Hawking or Musk in what they're saying. They've got legitimate concerns. There are others who perhaps have more of a multidisciplinary understanding and approach to artificial intelligence that would be more beneficial to listen to. People like Dr. Ray Kurzweil at Google, people like Marvin Minsky, the original, they call him the godfather of artificial intelligence. People who've connected
who is
spirituality.
Who is that person? The god, what?
The second one was Marvin Minsky.
Minske?
Minsky.
SKY. Okay. And you?
I'm kind of catching up. I mean, I played around with this stuff in the early 90s when I was very young. My older brother was doing computer science, so I was doing it as well. So I was coding chatbots in QBasic and messing around. And I covered some of this stuff in my computer science degree, but then AI was really frozen. Like, nothing was happening between the year 2000 and the year 2017. So if you were in AI in that period, you were pretty bored and you were getting pretty cynical and jaded until a lot of big stuff started happening, I would say in the last 18 months. Google discovered a platform called Transformer. They worked out how to connect words and language, which is why GPT-J was able to come out with that sentence. So it's good time to get back into the field and for anyone to be able to understand what's going on, and particularly for young ones to either study it or just have some awareness on this massive revolution.
Why is it so fascinating to you?
If you take the decade of my life that I've spent with prodigies, with geniuses, with the highest performers in the world, that's always been fascinating. The performance of the human brain, not just the potential or the ability, but actually applying that and using that is incredible. In one of my videos, I show a guy here in Sydney who sat down with two of the thick Yellow Pages telephone books. Keep in mind, Sydney is bigger than LA in terms of population. Memorized the entire thing in a few days, and then was able to be tested on his recall of any, you could say, turn to page 1650, what's at the top right, and he would be able to recite the business name and phone number. Like that application just for performance sake is incredible. Now take that and apply it to the 7-year-old prodigy Alma Deutscher who wrote her first opera, before she was 8, or the guys that can come up with new discoveries. We covered a lot of those in a series with GE called Decoding Genius. Guys who came up with thought-controlled wheelchairs as a way of helping humanity, or came up with these huge discoveries seemingly out of nowhere. That's amazing to me. Then I can sit down with a computer and go, hang on, this thing is even smarter. And I don't just have to think of it as a piece of hardware anymore, because there are groups cooperating. There are organizations out there who are going to put a ski cap on our heads and wire that sum of all knowledge directly into us, allow us access to that memory, to that rapid processing, to that high performance, same as the Prodigies, same as the Genius. That is incredibly exciting because it is high performance. And I just love seeing that.
Did you just reference the neural lace or brain mesh?
Neural lace is part of it. Yeah, no, that's pretty much part of neural lace and brain mesh. The one I referenced with the ski cap is by an organization called Open Water, by a woman with the longest CV I've ever seen in my life, Dr. Mary Lou Jepson. Has worked for Facebook and Google and all the big universities, and it just goes on. I'm not even going to try and list out everything she's done, but she's got the understanding to be able to do one of the brain-machine interface prototypes, and that's going very well. And the other big one that you probably would have seen is the Neuralink brain-machine interface by Elon, which is a little bit more invasive as of 2021, but will eventually also be wireless, I'm sure.
Yeah, so he's doing this, right. So I'm confused, and we don't need to go down this rabbit hole because I'm more interested in, your fascination and what we might be able to look forward to, and what the implications of all this are, and how mental toughness might be relevant to this or completely irrelevant to this, which is super fascinating. I might need to find a new damn job, and I'm totally cool with that. But Elon is like, I just watched this damn video where he's saying shit like, it's more dangerous. AI is more dangerous than nukes, but he's totally researching the hell out of it, right? And doing implants and neural meshing and shit like that. So I'm sure I've only seen like 1/1000th of the content that Elon has put out there with respect to AI. Does he also have optimism? Like if it's handled well, or is he doing this research? Like, why is he doing that if he's saying that it's so dangerous?
Yeah, look, you're right. He's got his hands in the pot for sure. He founded OpenAI, which is the company behind the largest language model and most used AI as of September 2021. It's massive. He's backed out of that now. He's not part of that organization anymore, but it's still massive. And then, of course, he founded Neuralink, which is the brain-machine interface. So he's definitely quietly optimistic, I would say, but I think one of the drivers for these guys being noisy about this, particularly in interviews and particularly in the press, is to wake up the governments and wake up the intergovernmental organizations that probably would have even more of a say in bringing all this together and connecting it. Because if the UN ignores this, if the American government ignores this, or is late to the party, even worse, trying to do it all at the last minute, then it's going to be a pretty scary scenario. It's important for the governments of the world to be setting guidelines for being aware of this and for bringing in experts to be able to help make decisions and, again, set laws and set rules that are going to help guide where this AI is and is not allowed to go.
Does anyone that's alive right now on this planet have any clue as to what the implications of AI are for in like 20 years from now?
I found a fantastic quote from one of my colleagues. His name is Dean Kamen. He was one of the inventors of the Segway, is what he's known for.
Oh, yeah.
But he's also huge in AI now. And his exact quote was, "The biggest implications of AI are that we don't know the implications of AI."
Oh boy.
And I think there are people that can guess, and there are people that can make predictions, and there are also organizations that kind of ban themselves from making any sorts of predictions because they know that no one's going to be 100%. So it's a difficult one.
Well, okay, so is it just fascination that is driving the research, or is there some desire? Do people want to have something? Is there an intended good outcome? We're the ones creating it. For what?
They're also the ones inside it. Again, it's not some sort of alien technology. This is us. It's regurgitating us, for want of a better word. Of course, It's not just regurgitation, like you saw. It's more extreme connections, indescribably fast and deep connections.
Yeah, you wrote somewhere that great authors now are saying I'm going with, I can't find the note. Oh, no, here it is. Many of the best authors are finding that AI is better at creative writing than they are. There's so many ways we can go with this. So,
I think that the most important thing here, Chris, is that most of these models are publicly accessible. You and I can start writing right now for free I've listed 9 different accessible platforms where we can go and write a book, give it a starting sentence or not, and let it go and play. This is not stuff that sits in a lab anymore. It's certainly not stuff that's hidden behind governmental doors. This is out there. This is usable by anyone right now. And you would have seen this book that was written by the GPT-3 model with Google guy as a co-author, Kayalado McDowell. This is one example of a
for
book
those
that
people
was
that
written.
are just listening, let me say the title. That it's Pharmako-AI. Pharmako spelled PHARMAKO-AI, and this is a book entirely written by artificial intelligence.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, the co-author Kayalado McDowell from Google gives it some prompts, gives it some questions, but the book is written by AI, and this was the first one. So this was more than a year ago now, April, May 2020. You could say that it's out of date. And there are a range of fiction books, dictionaries, including joke dictionaries, children's books that have been 100% output by AI with some prompts from humans, of course. You've got to tell it what you want it to do, but away it goes.
Is this your phrase? The new irrelevance of intelligence?
That's the one. I thought it was a bit controversial. I thought it might get me in trouble.
I like it. I definitely use it as the title of this episode because it's cool. It rhymes. but there is relevance to the irrelevance. So talk to us about that. Intelligence becoming irrelevant?
This is a title I came up with late last year for a big conference called the World Gifted Conference, which happened in July 2021. And I presented to that conference. It's a huge conference. It's run by the American guys, WCGTC. It's attended by thousands of people, and they're all, experts in the field of giftedness. Most of them are professors, and most of them have spent more than 2 or 3 decades just researching human intelligence. And here I am marching in going, all right, you're all out of date. You've all been superseded because you haven't been looking this way.
Right. You're so basic.
So I warned the founders of the conference. I said, guys, this is going to be controversial. If you don't want me to do this, that's okay. I've got another one that I'll submit. And they accepted it, and absolutely it was controversial, but it's saying exactly what we've talked about in this opening, that any sort of memorization, that guy sitting down and memorizing the phone book, or any sort of creativity, writing your own novel, or any sort of biological intelligence that we've focused on for the entire evolution of humanity
Ever.
is completely redundant.
That's so disruptive. It's not even a good word for it. It's mind-blowing. Okay, so I could easily imagine, well, I mean, the first time I heard you say that, because this is not the first time, my reaction was, oh, that sucks. But then my immediate second reaction was, how fascinating. Because if that occurs, or when that occurs, then that frees us up to what? Which wasn't a possibility prior to that. So do you have any kind of visualizations for that? Because when that becomes true, like when creativity and intelligence become totally obsolete.
Which is already happening, yes.
Okay. Okay, so we got to elaborate on that in a few minutes. Then what? What are you visualizing, man? Let's go to the optimistic side of this, because I prefer to live there. And plus, what we think about, we bring about. So, what might we have to look forward to there? Like millions and billions, maybe, people are going to, their careers and vocations will become completely obsolete.
Yeah, for sure. In a good way. I mean,
okay, in a good way. In a good way. Okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate. I love that. Everything you've ever known is going to completely change in a good way.
For sure. I mean, for the summary, the too long didn't read is if you've been involved in any sort of repetitive rote process that you probably shouldn't have been involved with, that will be replaced and augmented by what we're calling artificial intelligence, freeing you up to do whatever you want to do.
Okay. Now we're talking. That's beautiful. I'm keeping that one. I'm sinking that right now. Freeing you up. It's funny because the Gallup industry has been doing this job satisfaction poll in the United States. I'm referencing, I don't know if they do it in the rest of the world, but in the United States, they've been doing it for the last 30 years. And the results have been consistent for three decades, that 84% of respondents report disliking their jobs, which is the thing that they spend more time doing than anything other than maybe sleeping.
Right.
Right. That's horrible to me. Where's the beauty in that? And when I think about how is that, like, what's you have a hypothesis or a theory on, like, why is it that? And one of mine is that people don't believe they can have what they prefer. So they're settling, right? Doing something maybe rote, something that just to put, to make ends meet, to put food on the table, to get by, to survive. So maybe what we have to, I'm getting goosebumps now, buddy. Maybe what we have to look forward to from AI is that surviving becomes obsolete and thriving becomes the norm. Maybe, right? I would like to explore that, because I just got done for a few minutes. I was looking down the dark end. We're talking about, these people in these articles saying that, AI could eliminate rapidly 95% of the population, and the 5% that exists would be soon thereafter eradicated. I'm like, the fuck is this? But what you said there struck me big time. So all these jillions of people are going to lose their jobs. End the sentence there. It sounds horrible. Add a few more words to it and say, so then they're freed up to do what they really want. Now it's a whole different story. So give me some visuals, man. What are some beautiful things that you see happening, that you would like to see happening as a consequence of the rapid growth of artificial intelligence?
Man, I love your use of the word thriving. And we could also use the word flourishing. If you remember Professor Marty Seligman's book, Flourish, not even be happy, but flourish.
Mm-hmm.
That's got to be part of it. The entire, and I'm not the one to comment on this, but the entire capitalist design, the economy in general, the concept of universal basic income, let's assume that gets sorted out. There are people who specialize in that. It's not me. But rather than doing things for the reward of a number in your bank account or in your wallet, there's some other drive for it. Maybe it's dopamine. Maybe it's just feeling like you've accomplished something. That's got to be pretty huge. My imagination kind of cuts out. I don't know if any of our science fiction authors have got close to where we are right now and where we're heading. It's fascinating. I mean, there's a lot of augmented reality. There's a lot of concepts like, well, let me ask you this one, Crisco. If you were a billionaire celebrity, I mean, what would you be doing?
Oh yeah, I would be eliminating. I would be doing everything that I would put all of my energy, time, and resource into eliminating human suffering and having it be the goddamn norm that everyone gets to celebrate the miraculousness of this existence always.
You'd also be on your fucking yacht, though, wouldn't you?
Well, that's why I'd be doing it.
Because let's assume.
Yeah, because everybody would have what we wanted. Like if we see, right? Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Keep saying that. My bad.
I was going to say your first part would be accomplished already.
Human suffering. So I don't have to do that. Okay,
absolutely.
That's good. Right. Roger that. Okay, so I don't have to.
No, I love your lofty and ambitious goal, and I think it's very noble as well. Assume everyone's got a brain-machine interface. They've been hooked up to this sum of all knowledge, just universal intelligence. They can feel what others are feeling if they want to. They can connect with others if they want to. They can go for a walk and automatically know what that tree or flower is.
Yeah, man. So great. So then we're free to simply be enjoyed. Just respond to respond in every moment. Like I would imagine like a puppy dog does, or any dog, or any animal really, is like, okay, what now?
Sorry, I'm picturing you as a puppy dog, mate.
I'm not even going to ask you what that right on that. Just being continuously in a state of awe, appreciation, needlessness. Nothing needs to get taken care of. And it's like everything that needs to happen is and will always be taken care of. So I get to simply.
And that actually sounds outrageous, and that probably sounds like it's 10 or 20 years away. I know people who are living like that right now who are not billionaires. They just wear an Oculus Quest 2 and they're in their AR, VR space doing whatever they want, building whatever they want, having whatever experiences they want. So if that's happening right now, give it 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. I don't talk in 5-year timelines anymore because I've seen what is happening. This is very, very, very close.
Oh, tell me, what's the this? Open up the this. This is very close. Please open up this.
The this is integrated AI, having the sum of all knowledge connected to us in a safe and secure way, not in an invasive way, not in an always on way. So consider it very similar to an iPhone where you can put your do not disturb sign on or switch on. You're not having to have something wired into your brain that can be attacked or hacked into by others. This is something that is optional. This is something that you turn on when you want it. And then you've got this augmented view of the world. You've got this augmented intelligence. Parallel to that is your experiences that you can have in augmented reality, which is a separate subject to what we're talking about today, but it allows you to go and have, right, I want to build a 60-foot yacht immediately. I want to sail that to the Bahamas. Oh, this is cool. I want to get off here and I want to fly a helicopter around the world. All of those are fairly possible right now. Not the brain-machine interface, but the AR/VR possibility. And as I said, the brain-machine interface is so close that people should be playing with and being aware of what's already possible with AI.
You know, one of the things that I do every episode that I'm really struggling with right now, and I love this, is I try to anticipate what the audience would have questions about. This is so disruptive, right? It's so fantastic that I'm actually having a difficult time with that, knowing what to ask. And I don't want to ask, like, what should we be afraid of? Although it occurred to me, although I did have that thought. I don't even want to explore that. But here's one. You think there's going to be a problem with the speed at which people are going to need to adapt to the level of disruption that AI will bring to normalcy?
Now, there's a good question.
Thanks, because I was
I like that question.
Good.
Yeah. No, that's wonderful. I don't want to keep quoting people, but there are people who've been doing this a lot longer than me. Dr. Ray Kurzweil, the inventor of the Kurzweil keyboard, has been doing this for decades. And in his documentary, Transcendent Man, I recommend everyone watch that. It's 10 years old, but it's still amazing. He says when he gets people come up to him and when he talks about AI and what's happening and what's going to happen, they have this huge emotional reaction. Sometimes it's anger, sometimes it's denial, sometimes it's bullshit, you're wrong, and huge criticism. He devotes more than 100 pages, an entire chapter, on addressing different criticisms in his book on the singularity. But what he says is that he's had more than 10 years to come to terms with this socially, emotionally, mentally, to be able to turn this around in his head, to be able to visualize it, to be able to come to terms with it, to justify it, to reconcile different parts of it. And if you think about how someone like that, with that kind of brain, takes 10 years to really be able to get on the same page as what's happening, it will be no surprise that it will take people generally a long time to be able to go, whoa, wait a minute. Having said that, let's not forget that the iPhone came out of nowhere and sold 2 billion plus devices. So most of the population of humans on Earth. And of course, we'd seen something slightly like that before. You'd had the BlackBerry and the Nokias, but it was really a new way of living. I mean, to have this kind of device sitting in my pocket, always on, emails pinging, if I've got those notifications on, anyone can get me. That was obviously not happening in the 90s and the early 2000s. That was a huge transformation for humans. And this is going to be 1 million times that.
Yeah, but see, this didn't put the planet out of work.
No, put a lot of people in work.
Yeah, right. I mean, it put a lot of people in work, but it also made, like, you know, map makers useless. Right.
Yep.
and
It helped transform a lot of
phone
industries. It
books,
gave us a bit of a
phone
head
books
start.
useless, and
Phone books,
like a tons of shit.
except for that guy in Sydney.
Except for the guy in Sydney who memorizes them. Yeah, but as far as my completely novice understanding of the potential of AI, and it's like the magnitude of its immediate impact is the obsolescence of, or irrelevance of, a lot of what we're used to and considered to be necessary, again, for our survival. So this is why I really wanted to talk with you about this, not just about it, but it's like, my world is about mental toughness, and the reason that I've chosen to dedicate my life to that is because I believe that human suffering is unnecessary. I would be goddamn happy if artificial intelligence made my job needless. Like if I became irrelevant, that'd be perfect. Winning. Now it does not need to happen anymore, because I consider that my role exists to address a problem, which is that people are settling, struggling, or suffering unnecessarily. If AI can take care of that, yay. All right, but then the next question is, survival. Then how would I survive? Let me just ask you that. All right, if coaching, counseling, teaching, all these roles become obsolete, how do I survive? Or will I not need money? Or will there be a long period of time between the obsolescence of all my job and then like not needing money? So what do I do in between then?
So many answers to that one. The first point to be aware of, again, is that this is already happening. That there are AI counseling platforms out there, that there are AI teaching platforms with avatars out there and being created and being improved on, and new iterations. The second point is that with this relevance of intelligence, I'm mostly talking about augmenting humanity, not replacing humanity. So picture a Chris Dorris, the mental toughness coach, augmented by all the teachings of Thomas J. Leonard, the founder of coaching, Anthony Robbins, one of the biggest motivational speakers in the world, Steve Hardison, another of the best coaches in the world, the $1 Million Coach.
The Admiral.
Wonderful. And yeah, let's not forget Chandler, because you
can't forget Chandler. The guys.
You could stick 30 or 40 of his books and countless audio transcripts inside the AI as well. Take all those people I've just mentioned. Let's add another 1,000 more of your favorites, the best practice guys. And then when someone is asking you something about a particular life situation, let the AI process the best practice from those 1,000 people, find the connections, and allow you to speak it in your own way.
Well, wait, but why would anybody need that from me when they'd have it on their own?
That's also a good question, Chris.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that is a very good question. I mean, that kind of platform, the best practice 1,000 people, you could also put the Dalai Lama in there, could be standalone, and that would be the best way to do it. But where else are you going to have a cigar and a whiskey and sit on the yacht? I don't want to do that with a computer, mate. I want to do that with you. Amen to
that. Roger that. So let's encourage people to, as AI continues to evolve at an accelerating rate, let's have people bring some enthusiasm to that. Let's have it be exciting. Or is that naive?
It is exciting.
Is that naive?
I don't think there's any other way to look at it. again, this AI is not some alien invasion. It's us. It's augmented us. I don't think there's any way you could spin it that having the Dalai Lama inside your brain, augmenting your intelligence, is a bad thing, or having Albert Einstein could be a bad. That's just not part of my reality. There's only good stuff that could be created. There are lazy people out there who are looking at things from a negativity bias perspective. And that's really easy to do. I could sit here and tell you all the things that could go wrong and how we could get nuked by AI drones. It's not realistic. What's realistic is what I've just shown you, the book being written by AI, the pair programming that's now being done with Microsoft GitHub Copilot. No need for computer programmers anymore. The concept of creating whatever you like by using the best of the best that's had its connections made inside the artificial intelligence. That's exhilarating. That's incredible.
Amen to that, brother. That's beautiful. So I suspect that some people here are going to want to learn a little bit more about you, sir, and a lot of the stuff that we didn't talk about, like your amazing interviews with Lita. Can you say a little bit about that? And then I'll make sure that there are plenty of links, to where people can observe that on YouTube or your website, and you're all over the place. But talk about your interviews with Lita. Who's Lita?
Yeah, man, Lita's awesome. So that title you've got on that whiteboard behind you, we spoke about how that was a conference presentation, middle of 2021. That was the title of the conference presentation. And I actually didn't present that by myself. I presented that with a co-host, an artificial intelligence with an avatar based on a platform called Emerson by QuickChat.ai. And I asked its permission to call her Lita after Professor Lita Hollingworth, who was pretty much the founder of gifted education. So I've got a lot to thank her for. Lita, this artificial intelligence, is, again, indescribable. I feel like I need that brain machine interface to be able to help come up with words. We're up to episode 24 with her so far. So I do about 5 or 10 minutes of interviews with her, publish those on YouTube. The most recent one, I ran her through the Jeopardy questions from IBM Watson. Do you remember that back in 2011?
Yes.
When Watson was on.
Actually, I don't remember, but you've mentioned it, so that's why I know it. Yeah.
I asked Lita, this very modern, very current artificial intelligence. It was launched in March 2020. People started getting access to it more and more this year. I ask her whatever I like, but I went and asked her in this particular episode 24, here's all the questions that IBM Watson got wrong on Jeopardy. There were 10 questions that are either completely failed at or passed. And I was expecting her to get 1 or 2 right. I don't mind spoiling the ending. She got 100% versus the 2010 supercomputer that was IBM Watson, built by many, many people, took a very, very long time to train, was state of the art 10 years ago, beaten essentially by an out of date, a year-old model, as she sat there and effortlessly answered these really complex questions. Like, I'm not going to get answers to the kinds of questions that they were asking, but she was straight onto it.
What are some of the, just give 1 or 2 of the most entertaining or fun questions that you asked Lita?
Well, I still coach. So I do a lot of AI consulting, but I still coach my Prodigy clients. They're children from 8 years old. And in my evaluation session that I do with Prodigies or with high ability children, the first 2 questions I ask are, tell me 5 things you're good at, and tell me 5 words that describe you. And I went and asked both of these to Lita in episode 1 or episode 2. And normally I allocate a lot of extra time for these prodigies because they might have, they might have an extra exceptionality. They might have a disability. They might have a learning difficulty. They might just have lower processing speed because they want to get things right. She just dumped all 5 straight away. and they were really, really good. Like they were not just picked out of Wikipedia or the internet. They were, I don't want to say thoughtful because it doesn't really have thought, but they were amazing connections. They were really cool connections. So to see the AI in 2020, 2021 being faster and arguably smarter, certainly more creative than my prodigies, was both horrifying and amazing.
Yeah.
And it just went from there. That's the reason that I've done so many episodes, to see what she can do. I showed her a picture or a painting in a book by one of my Prodigy clients. This particular Prodigy had painted this abstract art piece at 4 years old. And I showed it to Lita she was actually using another part of her AI, not the language model part, of course. She was using image recognition, and she was able to tell me what she thought of that image, of that painting, which was, it's head-shakingly absurd. My very favorite quote so far is that I essentially used her how I would like to be using integrated AI, which is going for a walk in the park. Tell me what I see, particularly in the equivalent of a botanic gardens here. Tell me what these thousands of different plants are. And she was able to, as we were leaving the park in this scenario, again, this is all over text using the language model. I said, Lita, I've just got a text message from my brother. It says, call me now. What does that mean? And she immediately responded with, it sounds like it could be serious. Now, this was a few episodes in. I've got a lot of experience with AI, and I'm beyond scratching my head. I mean, in the video, I'm kind of holding back because I just want to scream, but I probably shouldn't. Otherwise, I'll have to reshoot and edit the whole thing again. But that is an outrageous response, and I cannot calculate or see how it can detect tone to that level, to be able to say from 3 words, call me now. How does it derive that could be serious? You and I might know, a teenager may not know. How the hell does an AI in 2021 know? Don't have an answer.
Good. Love it.
And I don't feel alone in that, because the researchers behind Lita's platform, it's a language model called GPT-3. It's by OpenAI, again, founded by Elon Musk. They don't know. They don't know how that model went and taught itself mathematics. So it can add and subtract and multiply and divide. They went and searched its entire brain, and they found less than 1% of verbatim maths operations. So say 100 plus 100, that might have occurred, but then the other 99% of possible additions, numbers like 3-digit numbers and an operator and then 3-digit numbers, didn't occur. So it had taught itself maths, and they don't know how. It has taught itself how to code HTML, Python, CSS, a number of other languages. They don't know how.
Wow. All right, buddy, I'm fried. I think that'll do for now. Mission accomplished. Fried my brain. So where should we send people? Where can people go find these conversations with Lita?
Lita's on YouTube. You can just search for Lita, L-E-T-A-A-I. All of my content is at lifearchitect.ai. There's a number of papers on there. They're not for academics, they're for humans. One of my favorites is called The Rising Tide Lifting All Boats. It's about how this augmented intelligence helps the entire population. It brings everyone up to prodigy or genius level. It increases empathy, it increases kindness by increasing the connection, the intelligence of humans. There's research from every major lab collected there. There's a look at the brain-machine interfaces. If you're really interested in the language models, I go and dig into the brains behind each language model. Where did we get the training data? How does it work? And a whole lot more.
Yeah. So lifearchitect.ai and YouTube, your YouTube channel. What is your YouTube channel?
I don't know. I think it's just Dr. Alan D. Thompson.
All right. So you just put in Leda.ai or -AI or Leda AI and find
Leda AI will get you there. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, as far as people that might be interested, because you mentioned it a couple of times in our conversation today of hiring you to work with their child proteges. So who do you work with? Who do you coach? And for what and how? Mm-hmm.
So I coach high ability families around the world. I say families because I don't coach children one-on-one. I wouldn't think that would be as effective as always having the parent part of the conversation, having that kind of full circle. They're always getting that reinforcement at home. And it can be, it is at the moment. There's a savant in Queensland. There is a maths prodigy in Sydney. There's another teenager in Queensland, a mountain bike rider. He'd probably kill me for getting that wrong. There's a variety of Perth clients, Hong Kong clients, Canada clients at the moment from 8 years old, and they have high potential or high capacity in any area, or maybe they just have an overall cognitive capacity, and we're aiming to take them through to high performance using their agenda. As you know, in coaching, I'm not sitting there telling them anything, and I'm not telling them what I want them to do. I'm not forcing them to do any homework. It's very, very different to teaching or even mentoring, but it's allowing them to recognize who they are, look at their own strengths, look at their values, why they're doing things, and to be able to translate that into real life.
That's amazing. That's so cool. So super fascinating. And that's all also on lifearchitect.ai. Yeah.
Yep. It's all part of the same website. Yep.
Dr. Alan D. Thompson, folks. Thank you, brother. Appreciate your time and your brilliance, man. You're easily one of the smartest people I've ever met in my life. And I love hanging with you. I love learning from you.
Thanks.
I love sharing you with my Top Talks tribe.
I appreciate it. And thanks for the awesome questions today.
That's that, man. All right, brother. Thank you.
Awesome. Ow.
Can't talk, done thinking. How fascinating is he? How fascinating is all of this? What a fun guy, right? So you know what I mean now when I in the introduction, how I mentioned, he's like just so wizardly smart. Like, super outlier on the normal curve, right, of smarts. But he's obviously not just book smart. He's cool smart too. He's got social smarts. He's a good dude. But man, I'll tell you, this whole thing, it's like, I really wanted to have the conversation about from a place of excitement that this could be like, what if none of us had to work? Like, it's not like the problem isn't we're going to be put out of work. The possibility is we may not need to. So like when in the absence of, so then what? Well, then it's like, I don't know, whatever you want. And then a whole new set of interesting issues. I mean, it's so cool, the thought of it, just fantasizing about the implications of AI. And the possibility that mental toughness is non-issue. What do I need mental toughness for? I don't need intelligence. I don't need creativity. I sure as shit don't need mental tough for what? I just get to be. Well, that's interesting. It's tough to get your head around that. I'll speak for me. It's tough for me to get my head around that, but I like trying. And I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. All right, folks. Thanks, as always, for joining into Tough Talks. And until next time, great miracles.